interval, I would be on the much slower one. Like I said, I was a sprinter, but I think hardest set is I did one set where it was actually in high school, and so it was a 125 plus a 75 for like 10 rounds, but I think the interval stayed on like 110 or 105, and so the 125 you're pretty much sprinting all out to make that 110 or 105 base, and then the 75 you got a little recovery, and then you kind of hit it back again, and then you get a little recovery, and then hit it again, and that was a pretty good one. We had some good guys on my club team. We were a small little team. We only had like maybe 6 guys at this meet, and so it was fun to get after it with those guys, and I think that's my favorite part of training was just getting after it with all your teammates and trying to push each other, so yeah.
Oh, I'm going to hand it off. Okay, yeah, because I got to stand up for my sprinters.
Right.
So
I was getting ready to say I need a sprint set, but I'm coming to Beards.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear yours too. The hardest one, I did the 100-100s. That was not fun.
Did you do 100?
Yes, in college.
But why though?
But why? That's a very good question. Ask my therapist. I have no idea.
Was it like during Christmas training?
Christmas training. But 3 days before that, which is what I thought was the hardest one, I had to do 150s underwater long course with fins.
What was the interval?
I had 30 seconds rest.
Oh, you had 30 seconds after each one?
Yeah.
Did you make them?
Oh yeah, I made it. The last 50 were with a monofin. That was my adjustment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
You going down?
go ahead. Tom's dying. He's chomping at the bit.
No.
But I gotta hear Beards because he was like.
Yeah, for me, like the 2100s, best average, those kind of things were always difficult. But my coach once made us do an 1,000 free, 400 IM, 3 200s fly, 1,000 free, 400 IM, 3 200s back, 1,000 free, 400 IMs, 3 200s breast, 1,000 free, 400 IM, 3 200s free. They were on 11 minutes, 4:30, and 2:20. But he was nice. He put the breaststrokes on 2:30. So it was short course, though. That was good.
I don't know, Beards.
Can I just say mine real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
So
Everybody's dying to say it.
I know, it's
I know, I think it's cool.
So in college, every Wednesday we had the same set as a sprinter, and we would do 8 100s on 8 minutes. But that was the main set you knew you had to come into for every week, and it was all out. You had to maintain, and yeah, it was really hard. All out, and then, yeah, but it was my favorite day of the week.
Okay, well, Rowdy and I swam together numerous summers.
That's why I'm coming to you because it was a
his
random
workouts are very different than my workouts. He was a sprinter.
I was the first one out of the water.
Actually, I don't really remember a whole lot of my workouts because I think I blocked them now. Our era was all about as many yards as you can do, right? It wasn't about quality.
Tim will justify that.
Exactly. If we did like 10 1,000s, that was a workout. 10 400 IMs, 20 400 IMs. I kind of remember it in a whole viewpoint. Like, remember 3 times a week in the summer at 1 o'clock in the hot Florida sun, we would run 4.5 miles
To the pool. To work out.
To go work out for 2.5 hours and then get in 10,000 meters. Randy might make us make one of the swimmers jump off the 10 meter before we can get out. Of course, can't do that today. And then someone would jump off the 10 meters. Then you had to run 2.5 miles back. And that was 3 times a week. So I look at it in kind of the totality of just, more was better. And, you guys are a lot smarter now.
And I don't think we're not saying we work harder than you do. Trust me, you work hard. It's just a different type of working hard, right? It's a little bit different from these guys are young enough to do kind of what you do, but we're a little bit older where we didn't do what you do. So, any more questions? Good questions. Awesome so far. I'll come to you and then I'll come over here.
What was your worst failure and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, good one. Worst failure. I'll let you guys decide. Your worst failure and what you learned from it.
I want to share my first failure because it's a wise story. And I wouldn't really call it a failure. It was a lesson. So I started my swimming career at the Ridgewood YMCA in New Jersey. And I was there for a couple of years. And my second year there, well, I was 12, so it was actually my first year there. I actually made Y Nationals as a 12-year-old in the 200 freestyle.
Did you go?
I did not go because that was the year the Ridgewood Y, actually they had such a good team, they ended up winning Y Nationals. And so my coach, Frank McElroy, said, you know what, you make cuts, but to go to Fort Lauderdale for one event where you're probably going to take last place in isn't worth it. So I was denied the chance to go to Y Nationals. And because of that, I never forgot that. I learned from that lesson, if I never wanted to put myself in that situation again, where someone could decide the outcome of what I was doing. I was just going to say, the message was driven home that I'm just going to train harder and be better because of that one experience with my coach and Y Nationals.
Wow. Hey, you were the one I wanted to go to, Colin, because can you share? I don't know. Well, you share your failure, but I also, obviously, I love your story. Colin and myself are ambassadors to the USA Swimming Foundation. If you don't know about USA Swimming Foundation, USA Swimming, obviously, our CEO's here, but we'd love to talk to you about that afterwards. But I know you had a drowning experience as a young boy, but tell me about your failure first.
So I want to.
That might be it, but.
No, yeah. I want to kind of double back to what I said about like failing gracefully. And I think Craig hit a really good point, and so I want to make sure I clarify what I mean fail gracefully. I love to fail. I do, because there's always a lesson. There's always something that you learn from it. And so one of the things that I started to learn as a professional swimmer that I want each and every one of you to understand, how many of you have, first off, warmed down? Let's just get that out the way first. Please warm down. But how many of you have gotten into the warm down pool and went, I could have went faster? Okay. Yeah, all you are lying that don't have your hand up. I want you to know, and I see you. I know. I'm going to watch tomorrow. Look, anytime that I got into the warm down pool and said I could have went faster was a failure to me. That was a lesson. And these guys can tell you after 100 free, because the 50 is okay, but anything over a 50 is too far for me. I would be on the floor literally blacking out because I never wanted to feel like I went into the warm down pool feeling like I had anything left. So for when it comes to failure, I think there's always a lesson in that. And so I can't pick out something specifically. Oh yeah, yes I can. Second in the 50 free. That was a failure. But I learned that I need to be very specific with my goals. And then when you're talking about the foundation and the work with USA Swimming Foundation, almost drowning at 5 was one of the scariest things that I know my parents went through. So they got me into swim lessons, and that's why I'm such a big advocate for learning to swim. I never got to actually swim on a Y team, but I did work at the Summit Y in New Jersey, and I currently give lessons right now at the Brace Y in Charlotte. So I feel very, very connected to this group in this room. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to take then? Okay. Coming.
Hey Olympians, my name's Riley. It's really nice to meet you guys. Thanks for coming out. You guys are a huge inspiration to me, and I would love to think a lot of other people here. So my question for you guys is, who are your guys' inspirations, and why the heck do they inspire you?
That's a great question. Really good. You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to start with Gary. Oh. Hang on. I want to hear, and then I'm going to come to you, Zach. Who was your inspiration? You made the team in 1964 as a 19-year-old, right? And then was your inspiration then your father? Or did you have swimming heroes back then as well?
My hero was Frank McKinney.
I know the name, Frank McKinney,
NCAA champion, 1960, 1956 Olympians.
Right.
Silver medal.
I know.
In both of them.
So he was the guy that, did you ever meet him?
Yes.
You did? Yes, indeed. What was that like?
He was from Indianapolis.
Ah.
And so I went to dental school in Indianapolis. And so I met him on several different
occasions. Were you like
there.
Nervous when you met him?
Yeah. I told him what he was like to me.
Yeah. Do you have a similar experience of meeting somebody that was like a hero?
Yeah, he's sitting two seats to my right.
That's true.
You know, I grew up watching people like Cullen and Nathan Adrian were two guys that I really looked up to and watched. And so then to kind of start my international career, being able to be on a team with Nathan and getting to know Cullen pretty well, it's pretty surreal. And I would like to say that he is a great role model and he's a great person. And I'm so happy I've been able to meet him and become, I would say, friends.
Do you get, like, when you see Cullen, is it like still like, I mean, he's your buddy and friend? Or
yeah, but it's still so cool because he's Cullen Jones. Like,
so, but very brief. Whenever my heroes were the 1976 men's team, right? Every single, and they're all my friends. Not most of them are my friends, but I still get nervous when I'm with them. You know, I go, "Oh my gosh, there's John Neighbor. Oh my gosh, there's Jim Montgomery." You know, I get nervous even being around me, even though they're my friends. Do you get like that?
Absolutely. You know, like it's gotten less and less over the years. You know, the first time we ever met, I was like, "Oh my God, that's Cullen Jones. This is insane." And then,
what was it like when you first kicked his butt?
I think that was 2017. I remember. That was a pretty surreal moment, that 2017 Nationals. But yeah, and now I'm so super happy that I can get to call him a friend.
Charlie,
and so many
you
of
were
those guys.
teammates with Cullen. Do you have a hero or somebody you looked up to?
I just realized when we all get back together and we got kind of this excitement and energy around us, all of a sudden my 6'2.5" frame, and it is a half-inch, 6'2.5". I feel very average in height all of a sudden again when I'm standing next to Cullen or Nathan or this guy. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's a great energy being around everyone, and the stories come out. And that's the same with you guys, whether it's being an Olympian at the Olympic Games and talking about that, or the last Y Nationals that you went to. It's that same energy that we feel when you kind of get the band back together.
You know, that is true. I mean, we're brothers and sisters, as I said at the beginning. You're brothers and sisters. You're all our little brothers and sisters. I mean, you really are. This is a family. That's why our sport is the greatest sport on the planet. No other sport is better than ours. I'll stack our sport against any other in the world for what you're learning every day. But we're brothers and sisters, and your teammates right now are your brothers and sisters. But we're all brothers and sisters in a way. There's a bond that's always going to be there. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, you're next.
How did the Olympics change your life, or how did you set a goal to get to the Olympics?
What's that? Oh, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Did you get that?
No.
Say it again.
How did you set a goal to get to the Olympics, and how did it change your life?
Good question. So how did you set a goal to make the Olympics? And once you set that goal and you ended up making it, how did it change your life? Janelle, you start with that, and then I'm going to go to Tom because you made the Olympics when you were 17. Yeah. So that goal could not have happened.
That's right.
Too much earlier than that, right?
Yeah. So I remember I swam in the 1988 Olympics, which were in Seoul, Korea. But I remember in 1984 watching you guys all swim. And I sat down with my coach at the Wilton Y, and I said, I want to go to the Olympics. And we set this sort of map ahead of how to get there. And interestingly, Mary T. Maher, who also is probably too old, but she held the world record in the 100 butterfly, which was my event, who was my role model growing up, and still get the jitters around her. But at the Olympics, I was 17 going into my senior year in high school. And I remember it was, they take the top two in each event at the Olympic trials, and it was Mary T. sort of at the end of her career and me at the beginning of my career, which was really just a blessing. So
she's a hero to a
yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah. So anyway.
Tom.
I think the best way I can answer that question is, and now that I have perspective of being an older person that has done it in the past, is it's really important to understand the difference between having dreams and having goals. And you have to have both of them. You have to dream big. You have to think of the Olympics and the big time things. But realistically, when I'm an 8-year-old, it wasn't a realistic goal for me to become an Olympian. My role model actually was Carl Lewis. that I always looked up to. The first time I was aware of the Olympics was watching Carl Lewis win 4 gold medals in track and field in sprints and long jump. And I used to run around my house trying to be like Carl Lewis. And I went to my park that had a sandbox, and I would run and do a long jump into the sandbox. And then I realized I'm not fast and I can't jump, so I better find something else. But yeah, and I always had this big dream, but I think I always understood that you also have to have your goals. So for me, it was like when I was 10 years old, I was going to try and be the best 10-year-old on my swim team, and then try and be the best 10-year-old in my county. And once I did that, I'd move on to another goal. So I guess the best piece of advice is all you guys have big dreams and really, keep them close to your heart, but pursue your goals. Because if you guys can, and I'm sure everyone can say the same thing, if you can knock off one goal at a time, it'll get you there. All right?
A cool example, y'all, about the physical makeup of, you look at Colin and Zach, they're giants, right? But if you look at, how tall are you? 6'1". 6'1", maybe. Craig, how tall are you?
I was 6 foot, but not anymore.
Yeah, I know. Maybe 6 foot, but... I know. But what I'm trying to get across is your physical stature has nothing to do with how good you can potentially be if you just set goals for yourself. I promise you. Somebody over here, I think, wanted... All right, I'll come to you next.
So my question is directed towards Mr. Houchin. So I was going to ask about Swimmingly, the app. I'm a summer league coach over the summer, and I've had the opportunity to use Swimmingly as a summer league coach and sharing my passion with the kids. And I was wondering if there's any updates or anything coming to Swimmingly, and also, do you have any internships or possibly jobs at Swimmingly?
Put him on the spot, dude. I love it.
So
you need to hire this guy right now.
He's a plant. We embedded him in the crowd earlier.
That was a good plant, though. You came up with that one. That was good.
Oh, that's great. So he's referring to there's an app where my company's called Swimmingly, and we really focus on summer swimming and the grassroots, the first splash of the sport. But anyway, it's a timing system and a platform. As far as the updates, you can go to the website and check that out. It'll update you there. As far as the internship, I appreciate you asking that. Yes, it's out on our social if you want to check that out. We are looking for interns every summer, so appreciate you asking that. And to kind of close the loop on the narrative circle here, I think one of the important things is post-game purpose. What do you do after swimming? After the shot clock runs out, after you touch the wall for the last time, etc. That's what I did, and I would just encourage you guys to understand and learn from the coaches, the advisors, the mentors that you have in your life, all of the really great things. Zach is the last one of us going through it right now. There's so many awesome things you can take with you from the sport, whether that's after you graduate from high school and you're done then, or you're done after swimming collegiately, or you're done after swimming for years and years as a professional. It's going to end, and it's going to end at some point. There's a lot of great stuff that you can take with you. I encourage you guys just to kind of marinate on all those qualities that you can take with you to life after the sport.
Great point. And don't ever say no to a handshake or a pat on the back or an autograph. You're going to get autograph requests. I saw Colin one time, y'all. We were together at a USA Swimming Foundation a thing at a school. He signed autographs for 2 hours. People were trying to, hey, I can get you out of here. Nope, he signed autographs for 2 hours until every kid got an autograph. So don't ever forget about giving back to the sport, saying hi to somebody that's a little older to you, being respectful, because trust me, like Charlie said, dude, you're going to have to get in the real world one day. And the more friends you can make now, it's going to create a lot of great things for you in the future. Okay.
If all of you guys raced each other right now, who would win?
It's like to tell the truth. Well, I can tell you right now, it's either going to be Zach.
What's the race? What's the race? That'll be a big game changer. Over 100, I'm out.
What is it? 2 fly? 200 fly!
Oh!
How many of us would finish?
Beard. I'm going to go with Charlie on a 200 fly.
Yeah.
The winner would be the one that finished right now.
Actually, I might have to go with Gary with seeing all you guys now in shape you are. All right, any more questions? Yes, sir. I'll get to you, and then who did you rate? Okay, I'll come to you next, I promise.
So, have any of you guys just been like really demotivated to swim? And like, if so, what helped you get back into it?
I knew that question was going to come up. It gets asked all the time. What happens when the motivation disappears?
Yeah, for sure. It's something that I think every swimmer goes through. I don't want to speak for everybody up here, but I'm sure there are times where, because training is hard, right? We know that this sport is not easy, and getting to the level that we did is potentially even harder. And so the thing that I did in high school was that I did other sports. I'm a big proponent when I do swim camps and everything. I tell people to like diversify early and do a lot of different stuff so that swimming doesn't get stale, right? I feel like there's this idea that you have to swim only from when you're age 6 or whatever. I didn't start swimming for a club team year round until I was 16. So probably older than some of you are in here now. And so I think a big thing is just like finding things outside of swimming that can keep your mind off of swimming when you're not in the pool, right? If you're going to practice and you're like dreading it and then you come home and you just think about dreading practice the next day, it's going to get hard quick. So finding other things you can do, whether that's finding another sport or finding some hobby that you enjoy to do outside of the sport, just something to kind of switch up your mindset sometimes. I don't know if anybody else has anything.
Somebody else want to say something on that?
Yeah, I would say one of the big things I do is you make your goals real, whether that be in the pool or outside the pool, whether you're going for SATs, what have you. Put the goal and make the goal something you see every day. How many of you guys do goal setting in the beginning of the year? Come on, raise your hand. Raise them high. Yeah. Where's that piece of paper or book now? Right. Make it your wallpaper on your phone because I know all of you have it. So make sure you live your dream so that you see it every single day, because at 5 o'clock in the morning when we have to go to practice in that cold behind pool, we are demotivated. So, but if you're able to see it every single day, you can remember, oh, I want to get this best time at Y Nats. Oh, I want to do this best time at the Olympic Games. Even though I'm tired and I want a cheese pizza, I'm going to eat this salad, because you see it every day.
All of you have swam at the highest level. What is the most nervous you've ever been before a race, and how did you overcome it?
The most nervous you've ever been. I would assume it's the Olympic trials, right? I mean, NCAA's is a different kind of nervous because, like you have your team behind you. But I'm assuming, for me anyway, the Olympic trials is a kind of a nerve-wracking experience like no other. So, Gary, is that true for you? Okay, hang on.
To that question, first of all, you don't always overcome it, right? Sometimes you get nervous and you don't actually realize the results that you've hoped for. But one of the things that used to help me when I was younger is my father would always tell me, Craig, just do the best that you can do. That's all that anyone can ask of you. And that would take the pressure off of me. If you just do your best, what else can you do, right? Right, it is a cliche, but it is absolutely true. You just give it your best. You know, the work happens in practice, not at the meet, right? So for me, actually, if I used to get nervous, I would say, did I do the work? And I could always say yes, right? Because you got to train hard, right? I'm sure with all of you, when you got on the blocks, you knew you did the work, so you were ready to go, right? The swimming, the racing part's easy. So I would remind myself of that. But I think if you also just remind yourself that just do the best that you can do, because that's all that anyone can ask of you at that time. And I think that takes the pressure off of you.
I'm happy to add 2 cents to that. So we used to be really big going into the Olympic trials and mental visualization, where we would practice it as part of our dry land every day, and you would imagine your race. And the first time you would get up, or you would imagine yourself like standing up on the block, and then you dive into the water, and then you get distracted and think about school and exams and friends and everything. And then, maybe the next time you do it, you can imagine your breakout and then what the water tastes like and feels like. And you eventually got it down to the point where you could do your whole race in your mind, right? So that by the time you got up on the blocks, you hoped that you were going to have the perfect race already put together. And I did that over and over, and it should have been so turnkey. But I will say that even when I got up at Olympic trials, I remember my legs were shaking so bad in the finals that I thought I was going to false start. And then, the second they say take your mark, it obviously all goes away. But I remember being really nervous getting up on the blocks.
Can I just add to that? Like when I used to visualize what it was like sitting, waiting the heat before my race, because that's when you're usually most nervous. It's not when you're behind the blocks. It's not when you're on the blocks. It's when you're waiting to swim. It's when you're really most nervous. And then if I can kind of get that in my brain and go through that process, then then it's just more familiar and it's easier. And I'm sure you guys did this too. Like when I would visualize, I would always close my eyes to get to the point where you start a stopwatch. And I would swim my whole 200 butterfly in my mind, and I'd stop it, and I would always be within. Right, I would be within a couple tenths of what my actual time was. So if you haven't tried that, you should try, because it's actually a really cool experiment.
Yeah, the most nervous I always was the first race when I got to the next level, whatever it was. So the first major international competition. There's a great picture of me at my first major international competition outside of the U.S. I swam the 400 free in 2011 at the World Championships, and it's after the race. I swam next to the world record holder. I didn't make finals. I was like 9th, of course, right? Who's been there before? But finally, all of the nerves released, and it's a clean pool deck. You guys know what a clean pool deck is. It's just that blue stuff. It's you, it's the starter, and the rest of the swimmers. And everyone's looking over at me after the race, and I'm just releasing all of the you-know-what after the race, just vomiting everywhere on the pool deck. Just all of the nerves finally released. But for me, it was definitely, so it's pretty gross. It's on Google, you can find it. But definitely the first time you get to that next level, I was always really nervous. The second time, it was always a lot of fun.
By the way, I was just asking Tom, if you haven't seen Water is My Sky, it's a really cool documentary on the sport of swimming. Can you answer that? About being nervous? Was it different?
Confidence, I think, is a thing that I tried to develop.
So you felt like if you did the work, you'd done the work, so that leads to the confidence.
I think we're all up here kind of preaching to the choir.
Right. True.
I don't think there's been a question asked that probably you all know the answer to. I think it takes work, dedication, goal setting, work.
Boring words, but so true.
I mean, there's not a swimmer alive that hasn't had to work for it. I don't care what level you're at. The level that you're at here and now, with the coaches that you have, you will remember forever.
It's true.
This is where your baselines are set.
So true.
Goals set now. Here, like they talked about before, you move up a level. A new goal is set. A new goal is set. I think everybody up here at this table, at one time or another, wanted to be in the Olympics. That's like you take any high school person out here today that plays football or basketball, they want to be in the NBA and the NFL. Now, how much work and dedication are you willing to put into it? Now, there's skill, don't get me wrong. Some people are much more skilled than others.
I don't know. Tom Wilkins didn't have much skill. And look what he did. I mean that as a pure compliment. Seriously, I mean, you were not the biggest guy. You were not the 6'6" guy, and you did things I remember that were just unbelievable. For I mean, you had beautiful technique, don't get me wrong, but you were not the guy that he's talking about.
Well, I mean, when I do get to talk to groups, I guess the theme of my talk is that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things. I was just an ordinary kid in Middletown, New Jersey, swimming for a YMCA team. And for some luck, I was in the right place at the right time with the right coaches and the right teammates, and things sort of spiraled for me from there. And I was able to go on and accomplish a lot of good things. And I guess the logical conclusion of that sort of story is, we're talking about dreams and goals and Olympic medals and all these things, but really what it comes down to is all those little things you guys do every single day, they make the biggest difference. And sometimes you might think, it's just one lap in practice. And by the way, your coaches didn't tell me to tell you this, but it's just one lap in practice. It doesn't matter if I skip this lap, or it's just one test in school. It doesn't really matter if I study really hard for these tests, or it's just one day if I go out with my friends instead of going to practice. All those little things do add up to something really big. And actually, I have my Olympic medal here. I can show you a pretty good example. I won a bronze medal in the Olympics, right? By 1/10 of a second. I won this bronze medal by this distance, right? That's the distance I won this bronze medal. And I promise you, all those little things that I was able to do right, all those little, throughout my life, when I started swimming when I was 7 to when I was 24 years old swimming at the Olympics, all those little things added up to that little distance on that day, but that little distance added up to something really, really big.
So I've got one even better than that. That's really great. I love that. But talk about fractions of a second. This dude. So what's the greatest race in the history of the sport? You guys might be too young. These guys aren't too young to know because it was 15 years ago, right? It's the 400 free. If you don't know about the 400 freestyle relay from the Beijing Olympics, again, they did an hour-and-a-half documentary on one race, a 3-minute race. They did an hour-and-a-half documentary. It's called The Greatest Race. That's the name of the documentary. He made this relay. Well, I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, so because everything was backwards in Beijing so that everyone at home could watch, finals were at night, prelims were in the morning. And Eddie Reese, other way around. Finals were in the morning, prelims were at night. There we go. And
because it was in China, the morning, it was prime time here, so it was morning in China.
So we were, to make the night relay, because Garrett Webergall was already on, Jason Lezak, and of course Michael Phelps was already on the relay. So there's only one spot left. So for that prelim relay, I had to try to beat, because Eddie Reese said, I'm not doing politics, it's whoever makes the fastest time and the fastest split will make that relay. And I was racing against Matt Grievers, Nathan Adrian, and then Ben Wildman Tobriner, who was my height, thank God. So I remember swimming, don't ask me what I was thinking, because I definitely blacked out. I touched the wall, and I just see this giant man diving over me and just barreling down. I got out of the pool, and I'm watching him just crush everyone next to him. He touches the wall, and we set the world record in prelims. And I remember thinking, there's no way. I went to Eddie Reese. We all stood there and said, well, what were the times? And he just kind of started blinking. And I'm like, well, what's the time? He said, Matt Grievers, 47.67. Cullen Jones, 47.66. So it was 1/100th of a second that made that night.
The greatest race. I mean, give it up for the preliminary swimmers, because you wouldn't have been able to get there without you guys.
Exactly.
But he made the finals relay by 1/100th of a second. Right? Dudes, that's half of a little fingernail when you're traveling at that speed. Just like Tom said, it's fractions of a second. I've heard that story 18 million times. And I never get tired of hearing it. I'm like mesmerized by it. It's pretty cool. All right. Merritt, somebody has to stop me, because I'm going to go all night with these guys. I could go all night. 5 minutes. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, you're doing it. You get another one. You had your hand up. I didn't see any other hand.
Hey, how's it going? So my one question is, what is your walk-up song for your race? Like any song. Thank you.
Your walk-up song. I have a feeling that Gary didn't have headphones on when he walked up to this. I don't know why, but do you think Gary had some headphones on and rocking to Eminem or Lil Wayne? Can you imagine Gary walking up to the blocks, jamming out to Lil Wayne? Oh my gosh, that would be great. Okay, walk-up song.
I got two in my head with headphones, so I had to just go with whatever was playing. So I know for 400 free at Olympic Trials, the first race, it was Welcome to the Jungle, which that's a pretty good one. And then the 200 free the next day, which actually made the team. I don't remember what it was, so there you go.
Yeah, so big Drake and Jay-Z fan. So Jay-Z was Change the Game, and the next one was, it was a lot of curses because got my head right. But Stay Scheming with Rick Ross and Drake.
Zach, I'm going to go. I want to know everybody's.
Oh, man. I wasn't really a real big music guy for the walkouts. I don't know. I'm a classic rock guy, though, so something from classic rock would probably be what my go-to would be.
Yeah, it was about the same. For me, it was probably Smashing Pumpkins or Metallica.
Janelle and Beards and I didn't really have walk-ups. We had Walkmans.
Right, we had our Walkmans. Mine was AC/DC, Shook Me All Night Long.
AC/DC.
She was a
you
fast
guys know
machine.
AC/DC,
She kept her
right?
motor clean. That one.
You don't have. You were a big Tom Petty. Right, from Gainesville. All right, one more question, and then we're done. One last one. We'll do it right here. Sorry. But maybe two. It depends on what the question is. No.
So you started talking about the greatest race ever, but can you finish, from your perspective? I know, because we all want to hear about it, so.
It's funny. It's funny.
After I found out that I was on the relay, I was like, yes, I'm on the relay. Oh, damn, I'm on the relay. Wait a minute. All that pressure hit, and to be very, very clear, Phelps never said he was going for 8 medals. He just kind of was entered into that, so the media kind of took it from there. And I didn't know what was being said on television, that there was no way we would be able to win this relay. I've done it all on paper, and every time I do it, there's no way. Who said that? Oh, yeah, that's right, Rowdy. So, who we talked about mentors. One of my biggest mentors was, and still is, Gary Hall Jr., and if anyone tells him, I will not admit that. Michael Jordan and that guy right there, actually. So, I love being on the road and making fun of him all the time for that because you guys know the outcome. But because everything was flipped, I had to go back to the room, and my forever roommate is Lochte, and he's sitting there sleeping, snoring in the corner.
Are you telling a story about?
Yeah,
and
I'm
I was
sitting
getting ready to
here
say, you got to tell that story.
Freaked out, oh my God, I got to swim fast. Oh my God, Michael's going for 8. You can't be the one that messes us up. And bang, 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 bang on the door. And it's 1 o'clock. I look, and bang, bang, bang. And I open the door, and it's Phelps. I'm like, MP, you got to race so many events. Why are you awake at 1 o'clock? He goes, Cullen, wake up. All the NBA guys are downstairs. I'm sorry, what? All the NBA guys are downstairs. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I kick Lochte. We run downstairs. And Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade, all those guys are down there. And they're there to wish us good luck for this relay. Because the French team said that they were there to crush the Americans. Smash them, that's right. And so I'm sitting there shaking all these guys' hands. And for those that don't know, I played basketball until I was 15. And that was another road that I was like, well, what if I ever did that? But that moment solidified where I was supposed to be, that I'm shaking all these guys' hands. And it got really quiet, and everyone was just staring at me. And the only person that broke the silence was LeBron. And he's like, oh, snap, there's a black dude on the swim team. Thank you. Thank you. After that, became friends with all those guys. But the very next day, we can all speak to it. You know what you do. You know your routine. You get up, you eat your breakfast. If you don't, I'm going to give you the cheat sheet right here. You go to your coach, you stretch, you get ready, you do your warm-up, and you're right behind the block. And so there were four very, very different personalities behind the block. You got to see a little bit of it in the 2016 games, but you had Garrett Webergill. You had Jason Lezak.
Yeah, right? That's him.
You had me. And you had Phelps.
That's what he did.
And so one of the most esteemed coaches of all time, Eddie Reese, walks up, and we're ready to hear something from him, and he walks up to us, and he just goes, "Don't mess up," and then walks right by. But then we got up, and George Bush was on the left side, and I can't make this up. He literally came in, stopped the whole meet, grabbed his flag, and did this. No facial expression at all. But the president is here. That's how important that everyone felt this race was going to be. Kobe, LeBron, D-Wade, they all ended up showing up, and they're screaming. They had to.
President was there.
The president was there. They had to actually tell the NBA guys to be quiet for the start. So they were like, Mr. Bryant, quiet for the start. Because they're screaming USA. And then after that, I don't really remember. I blacked out. It was surreal.
Do you ever get tired of talking about
Never.
the relay? I hope
because I don't talk about it at home. My wife would hate that.
These guys are a little young, but it's brought so much joy to so many people. I can't begin to tell you how many people come to me like I swam on it or something, and say, "Oh, do you remember that relay back in 08?" Like it's really it is an amazing memory for our sport. So thank you so much. All right. These guys are great. They're going to be hanging out for a little bit. You guys need to go to sleep. Time to swim tomorrow. Go down. Go back to your rooms. Get some rest. Kick some butt this week. And I'll turn it back for logistical.
So tomorrow, Cullen will be in the Athlete Village from 11 to 12 signing autographs. Rowdy will be there 11:30 to 12:30. Here's your chance. Stand up one more time. Rowdy Gaines and all of our Olympians. Go USA!
Can I say one more thing? He's going to be really mad that I'm doing this, but if we're going to talk about Olympians, we have to bring up the 3-time Olympian that is here that has 6 medals, Brendan Hansen, who's sitting over here. 3 golds, 1 silver, 2 bronze.
6 Olympic medals! The greatest American breaststroker in the history of our world, Brendan Hansen. I didn't even know you were here, dude. Should have been up there. Brendan Hansen, everybody. Jeez, I didn't even know he was here. Crap.
How about help us out? Pick up around your table, help the staff in here. Let's have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow.